Hi guys, welcome back to week 41 of the MIT Challenge, which is to learn MIT's 4-year computer science curriculum in 12 months without taking any classes or without even being enrolled at MIT. So today I want to talk about the role memory has in learning, and particularly why I don't think having a perfect memory is necessary to be a fast learner. But first, I want to just give a quick update on the classes that I finished. So I finished 3 more classes in the last time since the update, which include modal logic, industrial organization, and an advanced systems and signals class. So I've worked on those classes, and now I have 5.5 classes left. I say half a class for one of the classes because Elements of Software Construction has no final exam, it's just projects, and I've finished 3 of the 6 projects. And so that means that I have 5.5 classes left for the next little over 2 months period. I'm trying to finish by the end of September, which will be my 12-month deadline. So I'm going to be starting 4 new classes, which are computer graphics, machine vision, and 2 economics classes. I'm really looking forward to computer graphics and machine vision. I sort of left them for later in the class because I thought that I would be interested in learning them and I wanted to have an interesting class to take near the end of the challenge. And then there will be only one more class to finish once I'm done this batch of classes, and I'm leaving that one a secret. So the class that I have listed on there is not the one I'm going to be doing as the final class. I'm leaving that one as a secret, so that's going to be a surprise for everyone who's been following along of which class I'm going to be doing as the final MIT Challenge class. And so I've been working on that, and I'll be updating you guys on the progress with that. So back to the original topic is why not having a perfect memory is not going to hold you back so much in being a good learner. And I think that my philosophy of learning, at least, is that people tend to overemphasize the role of memory, particularly because the way schools evaluate things is that they tend to be closed book exams. They don't let you look online. They don't let you jog your memory with other sources. You just have to know it. You have to know it, and it has to be in your head. And this is a very old style of learning that comes back from before the era of Google, before the era of easily accessible reference material. But in real life, you can tend to jog your memory very easily. And if you forget a concept that you haven't used in a few years, as long as you deeply understood it the first time, it's much faster to relearn it than to learn it the first time. So my philosophy of learning, and this even applies for school classes where you have to do exams that are closed book, is that most of learning and what students tend not to focus on, but what is most important, is A, really deeply understanding ideas, and B, learning aggressively. So that means learning beyond just the bare minimum, not just trying to master these 3 topics you've been assigned, but just trying to learn as aggressively as possible of all the topics that might be useful to you. So the first one, learning deeply, is particularly relevant because if you have a deeply connected, represented understanding of an idea, it's much easier to jog your memory. So if you really understood an idea the first time, and then 6 months go by and you haven't used it and you take a class where it comes up again, if you really understood it the first time, it'll be very easy to learn it again. Whereas most students, when they talk about suffering with problems with memory, it's because they never really understood it the first time. They were memorizing it, they had a superficial type of memory, so when they come across the idea again, nothing is stuck because there was no connected representation. There was just rote memorization or sort of this brute force technique of learning the idea in order to pass a few tests. Deeply understanding an idea, therefore, can facilitate memory, but even that, it goes beyond memory because even if your memory fails, even if you forget an idea, having a deep understanding forms a better backup. The second thing is that being an aggressive learner, in my opinion, is better than being a perfectionist learner. Now, schools tend to reward being a perfectionist learner. They say, these are the 10 topics that are going to be on the test, know them perfectly. But the real world doesn't work that way. The real world is not this closed curriculum where there's only 10 topics that you're ever going to need to know. There's an infinite amount of topics that you need to know. And so there's an opportunity cost of ideas that you've never been exposed to, that you've never even sought out to learn that you don't know, which could be useful to you. So my philosophy, particularly with self-education, but also with classes in school, is to learn aggressively and to learn slightly faster than I'm going to have for perfect memory. So my rule is the 70% rule. So when I'm learning a topic for my own benefit, for my own sort of professional development, or for my own, personal development, is that I try to understand an idea to 70% before I try to move on to the next idea. Now this may seem wasteful because, of course, if you didn't completely understand an idea, you're not going to remember it the first when you come back to it again. But what happens is that when you go further and you're learning more and more new ideas, you'll eventually come across the idea again. You'll realize, hey, this is similar to that idea that maybe I didn't quite remember the first time, or I don't have a quite full understanding. So you go back to that idea and you learn it again, and you reinforce those ideas that you learn. So this style of learning aggressively, of trying to learn a lot of new ideas and learn them faster and faster, is, I think, really beneficial once you're outside of an academic context. Still beneficial inside an academic context, but when you're in the career, when you're in your career, when you're in your professional life, when you're in just trying to learn for your own personal development, I think it's much better to have an aggressive philosophy than a perfectionist philosophy, because having a lot of ideas that you know pretty well is better than just having one or two that you know perfectly, because nobody's going to expect perfect knowledge, especially when you can retrieve the information, you can learn it again later, you can go on Google and do a search and figure out more about the topic. So deep understanding and aggressive learning trump having a perfect memory. So thanks for following, and I'll be updating you guys on these last 5.5 classes in the last just 2 months period that I'm going to be finishing for the MIT Challenge. So thanks for following, and I'll be updating you guys in the following weeks.